Congress is doing the January 6th special committee, the House. That is going to produce a report. It's going to produce findings. And at any time, you can take that evidence, put it on TV, put it into a report, bind it up, sell it on Amazon, like the 9/11 Commission report was. When you're talking about people being charged with crimes, whether it's criminal referral, which is what the Justice Department is doing, criminal referrals for not answering subpoenas, criminal acts on January 6th or related to January 6th or related to the 2020 election, every person from the average citizen to the former president of the United States is entitled to the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. That is just how it has to work.
Reese, I want to say this. We have some calls, and I know y'all already mad what I said about Merrick Garland. So I see it coming in, but I do want to say this, Reese, and I want you to take it. Then we'll go to a break, and we'll definitely take some calls. What's really important to realize, y'all know I'm degreed in history, is we can decide to look at January 6th in a bubble if we like. But here's the reality, that this is the hate that Republicans created. We cannot forget that. And this goes back decades. And I think of someone like Barry Goldwater, the former senator of Arizona in the 1960s, who decided the way for us to win elections is this thing called the Southern Strategy, which was basically appealing to white racists who were leaving the Democratic Party and they had nowhere to go. And they said, oh, okay, we're going to get them as Republicans. Richard Nixon really hammers that home. Ronald Reagan hammers that home. Every single Republican has won because they've still used the structure of the Southern Strategy. So if for decades and decades and decades, you're using, let's be frank, racism to win elections, if you're using that format, which again, it's been successful. We've had more Republican presidents since the 1960s than we've had Democratic presidents. It's been successful. But if that is your platform, then it makes perfect sense to me. The monster you created, the monster being the voter, appealing to their fears, appealing to their ugliness, they're going to rise up singing. They're going to rise up singing, and you're going to see what you saw on January 6th. And until Republican Party, Democratic Party can come to grips with what they created, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. When you had Ronald Reagan trying to veto the 1987 Civil Rights Restoration Act, Ronald Reagan, when you have Bush, who actually vetoed the 1990 Civil Rights Act, he actually vetoed it himself. He vetoed it. Reagan tried to, wasn't successful. Bush did it. So it's just really important as we're reflecting a year. Let's remember how we got here, why we're here. You hear Southern Strategy, oh, okay, I've heard it a billion times. That shit is real. That shit is ugly. And it's worked and it's manifested. Folks always said, y'all heard this. Oh, we'll just take that generation to die off. No, what we saw there, those were people, those were grown ass people, some very, very young, just passed on. So until this country can reconcile what they've done, the culture wars they've created, the identity wars that they created, January 6th is going to happen over and over again. It's only going to get worse. And that's the one thing that pisses me off. And I guess nobody's going to go on TV and we're not going to hear Biden or anybody say that, but that's the real shit. This is history. This is the monster you created. And that monster is ugly. That monster is fighting back. This is what you created. And someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get seriously hurt. Let's not forget. No one talks about this. We forget. Ayanna Pressley's The Panic Button. The panic buttons were ripped out of her office. Ripped out of her office. So I just want to point that out. We got to put this in the lens of history. It's the monster you created, Democrats and Republicans, and every single person who denies that, it's just going to it's going to metastasize. Go ahead, Reese, close this out, and then we'll go to a break and take some calls.
I agree with what both of you said. The problem is that we have a very short attention span. We have a 280 character attention span. People don't even read the whole 280. You might get through 140 characters. That's how long the attention span is. And so what history? What are you talking about? You're talking about some old shit. People don't know nothing about that, and they don't care. Just like they're not going to care when this January 6th commission report comes out. People ain't really giving a damn right now. So I think we have an attention span problem. But to your point, also, we have a problem of being this manufactured war, this intellectual manufactured war where people still don't realize that they're being manipulated. I'm not absolving the January 6th people from their responsibility, but they were ginned up. I mean, if you saw the way that Fox News covered it and OAN and all these other people, they got on message, they got on code, and they ginned up this thing. But it also wasn't a spontaneous, a demonstration insurrection. I mean, they were manipulated. They had PowerPoints, they had war rooms. And so I constantly try to warn people how we as a society are being manipulated through disinformation, misinformation, and other campaigns. And people still feel like, no, I'm making my own decision. No, I'm empowered. I'm spontaneously coming up with the same idea. I'm an
independent thinker.
Yes, they're independent.
I went from cotton to Congress.
Exactly. So all 100,000 of y'all that's saying the same shit, the same talking point, every time y'all open up your mouth, I see the same talking point from y'all. Y'all independently came up with that out of thin air. No, I don't think so. But unfortunately, we just don't have people who are willing to recognize, hey, I'm a person who's being manipulated and I fall entrapped to it. And I'm going to push back against that instead of regurgitating it and going further and further, down the rabbit hole with this. And then the last thing I'm gonna say, this is unpopular opinion, but ain't shit gonna happen to Trump. Okay. So I ain't too invested about Merrick Garland. He was never gonna do a damn thing about Trump. Okay. Just like Bob Mueller wasn't. And so y'all can get upset every time Merrick Garland come on. He don't say he's gonna prosecute Trump. He ain't gonna prosecute Trump. Nobody's gonna prosecute Trump because we don't do that in this country. And I remember when Kamala Harris said she said he would get prosecuted under her presidency, they tore her ass apart. So, it doesn't gonna happen to him. So y'all can get mad every time or y'all can get over it. I choose to get over it and move on about other shit that I can actually do something about, because Trump is not going to jail. Okay. He's just not. And neither is Mark Meadows, Steve Bannon. None of these motherfuckers is going to jail. By the time anything even happened, we might have a damn Republican president who's going to pardon everybody anyway. At the rate we're going. Let me say at the rate we're going, by not pushing back on all of these forces that are trying to degrade our democracy. We're going to have a Republican president that will pardon or preemptively pardon everybody involved in the damn insurrection. So y'all can get over it or y'all can get mad. It's your choice, but I'm not going to spend my whole 2022 blood pressure high, mad about some shit that I already know ain't going to happen.
I mean, listen, they didn't even prosecute the officers who killed Breonna Taylor. And that wasn't the leader of the free world. I mean, they didn't
even present the charges. They didn't even make the case. Right. It wasn't even like, they was like, no, we're not even going to present that. Merrick Garland is not going to prosecute Trump. I said it right now. Y'all can get mad at me, hate tweet me. He's not going to do it. And I don't think it's a matter of time. He's not going to do it. And I don't actually care that he doesn't do it, because I don't have an expectation of Trump going to jail. If he was going to go to jail, it'd have been the 50-11 crimes he done already committed. He already got he's already unindicted co-conspirator #1 in SDNY. He already got damn Mueller report. That should be enough to put his ass in jail already. And he ain't there, so he ain't going.